Hello everyone and welcome to Stan the Wine Man TV. I am your host, Stan Rattan, and this is a blue collar wine show where I help you spend your wine dollars wisely. I hope you had a great Christmas. I know we did at our house. And now we go right into the new year, 2024. We got out of Michael Jordan year and now into Kobe Bryant year. So, as much as we like to preach from the rooftop, wine guys, sommeliers, champagne, bubbles, they're good for year round. You don't have to have a celebration reason to drink bubbles. They're great shellfish wine that go well with many different kinds of food. But, to be honest, most people really do dig into bubbles and the new year. Celebration of the new year, New Year's Eve. We understand that. I'm going to sell a lot of bubbles at the store in the next few days. I was very impressed at how many bubbles I sold over at Christmas time. Quite a few people bought bubbles, which is cool, but that's also a celebratory thing. Evidently, nationally, in the U.S., Prosecco is the strongest category in the U.S. right now, which is very cool. I mean, a lot of people drink Prosecco, and like I said, around Thanksgiving time, I sold more Prosecco than I ever have. So I anticipate good Prosecco sales for New Year's Eve. And believe it or not, a lot of people don't buy any other bubbles until New Year's Eve. These are or the day before New Year's Eve. So, why have it sit plugging up your fridge, right, until you actually need it? So we're going to look at 4 different sparkling wines. We're going to look at a Prosecco, a Cava, a South African sparkling wine, and then, of course, the real deal champagne. And we're going to dig right in here. I'm going to start with Prosecco because it's the lightest of the 4. Now, Prosecco is interesting because it's not done method champenois, like a champagne would be made. It's done in the Charmat method, where they do the secondary fermentation in a big steel tank. And so the bubbles, the carbon dioxide creates in that steel tank. And then they have an apparatus they use for bottling the wine. They put the actual dosage in the tank before they put it into the bottles. And then it's made to go right out. There's no aging in bottles or any of that. So it's a fresh wine. I did pick it out, but I chose the Zardetto Prosecco because this is, in my opinion, one of the better Proseccos for the money. And we're going to do the whole thing here just because, hey, it's New Year's. It's a New Year's coming up. So let's just do this and get foil off. I'm never good at getting foil off. I just make a mess. So, I would never make a good waiter, just saying. I'd have to practice, of course. I might be able to do it if I practiced. So it's done in like I said, in the Charmat method. The grape for Prosecco is Glera. And they used to be able to call all wines Prosecco, but now it has to be grown in the Prosecco DOC, or DOC. Yeah, DOC. It should be called Prosecco. Tough cork. Like it. So I'd like in the comments, if you can find yourself to comment, what's your favorite Prosecco? I probably should ask at the end. I'll ask all these questions at the end. Not too many. Maybe just a couple. Okay, so Prosecco. Fresh. Back in the day, I used to refer to it as Avion Bubbles. This is $15. Zardetto Prosecco. Made from Glera. So good color. There's a little bit of a hay golden color to it. Bubbles are coming up pretty good there. I don't have a flute. I like to do these episodes without a flute. It's a little bit easier to get the aromas. I know a lot of you are going to use flutes, but if you have a glass that has at least a reasonably closed top, maybe. I like these glasses. These are Ronas. I'm not getting paid to say that. I just discovered these in Sicily. All that traffic going by, the wind is blowing. That's why I'm wearing this. I can't wear the t-shirts. It's way too cold up here. So I get a lot of apple notes, a little bit of peach as well. Let's see what we get on the palate. See, the reason I like this, and this is done in the Brut style. So for those of you that, I know a lot of you know this already, But Brut is drier. Then there's Extra Brut, which is the driest. Then there's the Extra Dry, which is a little bit sweeter. Kind of confusing, I know, but Extra Dry isn't really what I'd call sweet. If you want to get into sweet, you have to go to Demi-Sec. Nice acidity on this Prosecco. Smaller bubbles, you don't get a huge, foam up in your mouth. You get that nice white peach on the palate, apple. Good cutting down to the finish, so it has a nice flow. But what I like about Zardetto, and of course the big one, always surprised me, it's the most expensive, well, it's not the most expensive, but in the category of what I sell at the store, La Marca. Sell a lot of it, it's in the $20 range. Everybody goes for it. Good marketing, people love it. But I like Zardetto because of the acidity, the freshness in the mouth. I love the flavor profile, apples, a little peach. I'm getting a little bit of minerality on this one as well, which is very cool. A little bit juicy, all those cool things. When you're drinking a sparkling wine, you want all of those things to be there. Good acidity, juiciness, freshness, and this has really good flavors. I'm going to go B+ on that. Like that Prosecco. You like my little, I left one of my spit buckets, so I thought it would be appropriate to get a party bucket. People are going to be partying. All right, let's move on. So now we go into the Cava land, and personally, this is my jam. I love Cava. I think it's way underpriced for the quality. They do it method champenois, which means they, ferment secondary fermentation happens in the bottle. So they get the carbon dioxide gets trapped in the bottle. They do a dosage. They disgorge the wine, dosage it with a liqueur thing, wine and sugar, to bring it to the dryness level they want. This one is made with organic grapes. This is a Brut as well, 2020. So this is a vintage Cava, and get this, guys, 13 bucks. That's stupid. Now you can get more expensive Cava, that's for sure. Ooh, I'm gonna have trouble with the cork. I gotta give myself a. Wow. Well, that could be a problem. There we go. That could be a problem. Make sure you have somebody with some muscle on you. Muscle on them. 2020 Kila Cava, $13. Having a bunch of people over, you're looking for a value. This is a value. In fact, I don't think I brought enough to the store. I don't know what I was thinking. So Cava can be made from, they actually allow Chardonnay in Cava land, but they're made from grapes that most of us are not from. Perlata, very, very golden in color. Yeah. So these are grapes that most of us are not familiar with, but they do allow Chardonnay now in these, and I think of some Pinot Noir as well. So, this is organic. A lot of people like that. Let's see what we get on the nose. A little bit of a very earthy nose on this one. You get a little bit of a nuttiness too, kind of from being laid on the lees, so they leave it on the lees for a while in the bottle. The rules may be different than France. I need to bone up on those rules, and I'll write in the subtitles the grapes that they use. I know Perlata is one of them. The other ones are not coming to me for now. I'm getting a little bit of a brain cramp. Sorry about that, guys. Chardonnay, Pinot Noir sometimes. Oh, lemon. I get like lemon pledge. That's what it's coming through. Which I love that smell, without the chemical side, of course. You get the lees notes, a little bit of almond coming through on this one. Lemon. Let's see what we get on the palate. The mousse on this, the foam, a little bit foamy in the mouth, which is okay, but more than but we expect that. Remember, this is secondary fermentation in the bottle. This has good acidity as well. I get the almond notes, a little bit of that yeastiness coming through. The lemon is definitely there. It reminds me of a lemon drop, you know, those little lemon drops that you get. A little bit of that kind of nuttiness. Bubbles might be a little bit bigger than I remember trying this in the past. Some people, that wouldn't bother them too much, especially out of a flute. You can tend to get a little bit more on the palate when you do it this way. Nice balance though, good acidity, nice and fresh. Not as juicy as the Prosecco, a little bit drier on the finish than the Prosecco. I get the minerality on this one as well. That earthiness comes through on the backside, which is really cool. I just like this Cava. I think $13 is a stupid price for the quality that you get. The bubbles won't bother a lot of people. I like my bubbles to be a little finer than this, but that's okay. I like the minerality. I like the yeastiness that comes through on this. I like the a bit of nuttiness. I get the lemon and a little bit of kind of a tart apple flavor. I like the freshness on this wine. I'm going to go B-B. I'm going to stick with B-. It's a good wine, $13. B- is a great grade for a wine like that. It's crazy. Okay, now we're going to go to a cool place, South Africa. Graham Beck. Now, my understanding, and I think this is true, they used to make a lot of different wines, not a lot, more than just bubbles, but now I think they've decided to stick to making just bubbles. So their focus is on sparkling wine, done in the method Champenois. And my wife and I, when we went to South Africa, we were very impressed with the country, except for the shanty towns, of course. That was really eye-opening. But we've discovered Graham Beck while we were down there. So I found out who distributed it, and I brought it into the store. And we've turned on a lot of people to this. So Graham Beck, Brut, Method Champenois, and this rolls in at $20. Okay. So it's a Brut. When we say Brut, it usually, more than likely, will have Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, maybe some Pinot Meunier in there. I'm not sure exactly with South Africa if their rules are a little bit different than Champagne. Champagne has, I think, about 7 grapes they can use, but the main ones are Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, and Pinot Meunier. And so that's, I'm not sure though with South Africa, I'd have to do some research on that. Just like not remembering the grapes and Cava. But I'll put them in the subtitle. Sorry guys, I don't know why, I'm just kind of getting, my brain's not working. Anyway, so Graham Beck focuses on bubbles, and Brut can be Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, combination of both. Could be 100% Pinot Noir, Pinot Meunier. If it says Blanc de Blanc, it means white on white. Actually, when it says Blanc de Noir on it, it means white from red grapes, Blanc de Noir. When it says Blanc de Blanc, it's white on white. So usually Chardonnay, 100% Chardonnay, in most cases with Blanc de Blanc. So this again is hay golden color. Good bubbles on this, are coming up nicely. I need to get some better champagne type glasses for review here. I don't like to use little flutes, so I'll look for those. Because I like reviewing bubbles, really do. So good mousse on that, look at that. On the foaming. So aromatically you get some apple notes, which is very common. You get just a hint of yeast. A lot of citrus notes coming through. Could be a combination of lemon, maybe just a hint of lime. But I get that kind of, yeasty kind of bread doughy thing, barely, but it's there. So, bubbles aren't as foamy in the mouth as this one. Foamy, is that a word? I hope it is because I'm using it. But this is very linear, very cutting, very fresh. Good acidity, excellent acidity, really. Probably should show you the bottle. I think I might have. Getting all excited here, I'm drinking bubbles, guys. Okay. I like that kind of bread doughy kind of, but it's not heavy. Used to be back in the day, Veuve Clicquot, which is very popular, champagne, very expensive. Not the most expensive, but getting up there. Would be just heavy bread doughy kind of marzipan thing. This has a little bit of it, which is, I like. That bread dough thing can get over the top. A lot of people like it though, so. Good apple notes, kind of a, not quite Granny Smith, but kind of a combination of Red Delicious and Granny Smith. This is dry, but it's also nice and juicy on the palate, nice and fresh, which you want in your sparkling wine. At least I do. I like that. Good. There's some minerality on the backside of this one. Finishes nice and dry, very clean, with that hanging around with that little citrus kind of lemon, apple, maybe just a hint of yeast, bread dough type on the back end. A long finish on this one. And I really do think that if you can get a sparkling wine like this, $20, and it has this quality to it, it really is a good QPR, quality to price ratio, and you can really impress your friends. It'd be fun. Oh, hey, they put it on the back here. That's really cool. I just noticed that. Brut sparkling wine, 55% Chard, 45% Pinot Noir. There you go. I like it when they do that. The Cava probably not so much. But what a cool thing to bring on a party. I got the South African quality sparkling wine. I'm going to go B+, A- on that. I love the lingering finish. I like the citrus notes on the backside. I like the freshness. It's a little bit juicy. Dries out on the finish. Great sparkling wine. Love it. B+, A-. Let's move on. Now we're going to the real deal. And when I was looking at what to review here, I wanted to make sure, champagne's expensive, let's just face it. And there's a lot of reasons for that. A lot of it's just the name, Champagne. They have a society that protects the name Champagne so that nobody else can use it, although you still see it on Corbel because they're grandfathered in. These guys want you to know that if it says Champagne, it comes from the actual Champagne region in northern France. And what a cool place. Reims, Epernay, very cool. Champagne region. And this one I chose because I've had it in the past. I really like it. And it's not terribly expensive for a champagne. This is the Charles Elner Carte Blanche Brut. It says here, let's see, 30% Chardonnay, 30% Pinot Noir, 40% Pinot Meunier. It's funny when they put the most at the end. So Pinot Meunier, a lot of people aren't familiar with that, but that's a grape they use a lot in Champagne. This rolls in at $42. Now $42, just saying, for a Champagne is a reasonable price. So that's why I chose this one. And let's see, I'll give this one a little right. Champagne is really working hard to protect that name. And I think they're succeeding. Just like Prosecco, you have to be from the DOC Prosecco to call it Prosecco. So there you go. Surrounding myself with bubbles. So this has a nice golden color on it. Of course, Method Champenois, they do the initial fermentation. They put they bottle it and then allow the secondary fermentation to occur in the bottle. They leave it in the bottle for 15 months. The secondary fermentation takes about 8 weeks, but then they leave it in the bottle, and then they do a disgorging, where they tip the bottle up and they allow the yeast to go down to the neck. Then they freeze the neck, pop. They use a pop cap, and they pop it, and that popsicle of expired yeast comes out. They pull that out, then they dosage it with a combination of wine and sugar, and depending on where they want the dryness level to be. So they, whatever the sugars they put in, will make it a brut, an extra dry, a demi-sec, or a brut nature, which in fact they don't put any sugar in there. They just fill it up with wine, and then there you go. And they save the wine. It's wine that they've put aside for that very purpose. This is very, very golden in color. It's cold up here, guys. My hands are cold. These bottles didn't even feel cold, but the wine is cold. I like to have my champagne really cold. Just saying. I'll ask questions after. I always want to ask them. Oh, this has like almond, that kind of brioche sort of yeastiness. Big time on the nose, which is what you expect from champagne. Really, you imagine they leave it on the lees. The lees are just spent yeast. So, there's yeast and sugars, in the wine. They eat each other up, and then they create the dryness level. The alcohol, excuse me, not the alcohol. They create the alcohol. This is 12% as well. Great nose on this one. Great nose. I get a little pear and apple combination. There's an interesting kind of umami characteristic coming through on the nose as well, with that yeast brioche thing going on. Let's see what we get on the palate. This is why I like Charles Eleanor. I like this producer. It's been a while since I've tried it, to be honest. Very dry, very fresh and acidic, but the acidity is nicely integrated in this wine. You get that kind of yeasty, bread doughy thing, a little bit of, you get that kind of pear-apple combination, but it's, it's combined. Like if you took, bread dough and whipped it up with a little bit of pear and apple, you would get this flavor profile, but very, very fresh and lively on the palate. This reminds me a little bit of what Veuve Clicquot was a few years ago. I think the flavor profile on Veuve has changed just a little bit in my experience. I reviewed it, I think, a couple of years ago on YouTube, but they went like in the $70 to $80 range. This is $42, which is a really, really good value for sparkling wine of this quality. The bubbles are very fine in the mouth. I love that kind of brioche thing. This is a very, very complex, very well-made champagne, and it's under $50. Again, that's hard to do in the champagne land. One of my favorites is Charton Tallet, and that's now gotten up into the $60 to $70 range. It never used to be there, but it's gotten there now. Bubbleheads have caught on to it, and they really like it. And of course, the more popularity, of course, glass prices have gone up. All of that was created in these wines. But it's nice that they put the composition on the back of the bottle. That's really cool. So New Year's is once a year. If you want to kind of spring for a little bit more, I think Charles Eleanor is accessible depending on your wine shop. We have it at the store, but this is not about the store. I'm just saying I carry it because I like it. And we have a fairly eclectic collection there. Well, because I'm the buyer. So there you go. And the finish on this just keeps going and going and going. So if you want to go the champagne route, this would be a good option because it doesn't necessarily break the bank, especially if it's just you and your wife or you and your partner, whatever it is. You might only need one bottle, and this would be excellent. I'm gonna go straight up A+ on that one. It's such a well-made champagne. Couple of questions for you. What's your favorite Prosecco? What's your favorite champagne? Have you had South African wines? What's your favorite cava? If you make a comment, I love answering I try to answer all the comments. And, once again, I left the names that I want to do shout outs to at the house. So I think it'd be really cool at the start of 2024 to do a shout out to a couple of people that have new subscribers. That would be really, really fun. Thanks for taking a little time out of your day. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Hit the like button. If you did, I hope you did. And if you haven't subscribed yet, think about it. You don't have to watch all the episodes, but, at least you know what's coming out. You keep watching, and I'll keep helping you spend your wine dollars wisely.